And I'd like to invite you to open the scripture with another Bible text in the book of Malachi, I think it's saying in English, huh? We reach chapter 3. Verse number 10. Brother Richard, can you help me with the reading?
Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house, and prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts. If I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it.
Okay, thank you very much. We see here the call of God, bring your tithes to my house, that may be food there in my house. We see here the responsibility on how charge the Lord in verse number 8 and 9 is very important. This chapter, when we speak about the finances, what we are just talking now about the responsibility of the treasure, what is mentioned there? Verse number 8 and 9, the same chapter 3.
Okay. Will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. Ye are cursed with a curse, for ye have robbed me, even this whole nation.
Here we see how big is the responsibility that we have to bring the finances to the Lord. When the Lord says, you have robbed me when you have not given proper tithe and offerings. This is something that it is very important to be checked on the life of the church, that the church may be doing his responsibility, every member properly. And the treasure responsibility is very important because it's administrating the funds that do not belong to men, belong to whom?
God.
Belong to God. That's why the administration of these funds need to be properly taken care, clearly. I think all this, how to do this, to give receipts to those brethren that give tithe and offering, all this information I'm sure you have received when Sister Maria Oliva was giving you some lectures about accounting on how to proceed in the church life related with the treasure responsibility. I just want to give you two forms now that we may look upon them. And this is the form of the monthly report. Monthly report form. I'm just trying to give you the fast information of what are the most important things that you need to take care on the life of the church. Sorry, bro. I'm responsible. Okay, we have here the screen, the monthly church treasure report to the field or union from the name of the church for the month of, let's say, March is just finished. We are now entering the information for starting April. Then you put here the summaries of all the income that you have, tithes, first fruits, literature, missionary, poor, building, Sabbath school, youth. As you saw, the first list, as we mentioned before, that this goes directly to the field. And then you have 10% of the local church offering, other specified. Here, other offerings. I recommend you, for example, the youth fund, that they also may have some funds that they may be collecting locally for the local development of the church activities locally, as well as missionary fund. There are two important funds that should be collected in the local church apart from the second service offering that also belong to the church. That you may have possibilities to develop materials and have funds to purchase leaflets and other activities in the local church. I repeat again, for the missionary department and also for the youth department in the local church level. And then the second part of the form, for the general conference, foreign missions, If there's contribution from the members for the mission, special Sabbath school offering, just to remind you, special Sabbath school offering, these are offerings, these that go directly to the general conference. Go to the field do not get anything, they just go directly to the general conference. These are the main offerings for the general conference. Week of prayers, highways, Good Samaritan, and other offerings, some other requests. If there is disaster, there are also some other requests that is sent to the churches internationally that they may contribute, and then you put there the information. And then is the church treasury name, signature, and the dates that is presented in the report. On the total amount of money that is need to be transferred there for the field. This is the report that do the treasury of the church every month for the field. Let's go to the next form. On the next form is the quarterly church treasuries report. This is a little more detailed because it helps also like having a summary of the bookkeeping of the local church quarterly. And this report helps also the treasury to present his report in the church. Again here, field and general conference income and transfers. For the field, tithe, first fruit, literature, missionary, poor, building, Sabbath school use, is the same report, same information as we have in the other form, but here we put first month, second month, third month, on the total for the whole quarter. And then we have a second part in this form, and this is local church income, expenditure, and form balances. As you can see in the second part of the page here. We have here the income for quarter, month 1, month 2, month 3, on church expenses, poor, literature, and others. Beginning balance, first that you may get from the past quarter. You put here on the information is how much you got for here for the poor, literature, and here is the expenses that you also have for the church. Here is income. Here is income by areas, for example, church expenses. Here will be the second service collection that you put as income. Poor is other funds that you may have collection, if you have collection in the local church. Literature and other, you can put, as I mentioned, there are missionary funds that you collect in the church, or youth funds that you collect in the church, or other funds that the church may collect for local church functioning. Here, expenses of the local church then. Rent. You will not put rent on the poor, only if you are supporting a poor with rental. But if the church is renting a building, you put here rental in this area. So you will use with the church expenses, with the church second offering, that we may go in this area here. Utilities, electricity also will be here. Maintenance and repair. This is the expenses of all the 3 months now. Total expenses. Here is the income you are having monthly, but here you put the whole for the whole month, because you will have total balance at the end of the quarter. You understood? Other help to the poor, then you will have other expenses that you are giving to the poor there. Mission and literature, that will go expenses now in this balance, in this area here. And other expenses that you may have, as we mentioned, if it's not rental, but maybe you buy flowers or equipment for the church that was necessary, you put there. Then what remain there for you need to take also from the income, you calculate here the 10% that you will also deduct as expenses, because this you will be sending to the field. Then total local income of the field. You put here then as expenses from the total amounts that you found here. You understand? Total income, you put the 10% total of the poor, the 10% total literature, for 10%, other 10%. This will go in out because you are sending this money to the field, the tithes. Balance, that will be the money that will remain in the church and that you will use in the next quarter to put here in the beginning again as beginning balance. It is clear? Yeah? And then you have also signatures of the church leader, signature of the treasurer. This is like a small accounting that you may see when the field will see how is the life of the church financially going. If the church is keeping themselves or need financial help, or what is the situation. This you need to send to the field also quarterly. Any question related with this form? It's just very simple, this part. The first part is just repetition of the monthly, but you put for 3 months. On here you put income and expenses. Income, church expenses, will be the second service income that remain in the local church. On other income that you may receive, you put there, the first, second, third month. On expenses, you put there, but for the 3 months, because there is no column for months here. It's by areas. It is clear? You may not get confused there. Brother.
Yeah, just one little question. I remember you mentioned a little while ago that all the money that stays within the church, that it's still, like in the local church, it still has to be tithed.
Yeah.
But I was just going to ask, what's the reason behind that? Because it's God's money already, is it not? I don't really understand too much.
It is true, it's God's money, but this is how it was settled, that also the field had expenses in different areas, and these are other support that we, as the church received, the church also should give. This is more or less the principle. The church has received income support. The church is not having this is not having any employee, the church locally that give directly, as in, like the tithe purpose is, it receive the worker. The church just give the tithe for the next level that they may also tithe. When we go to the system, for example, of the, I don't know if Brother Watt will touch this when touch the sanctuary, the priests, they should get the tithe, but also at the same time they should tithe, they tithe and send to the high priest. That everybody was receiving also a part of the contribution, also they should contribute. Also the worker, they receive the tithe, and he should also tithe. It's already tithe money, but he tithe because he received a blessing, then he tithe for the next level again. Yeah? It is a principle that is said that also tithe, that when received, it is, when we are not talking here about tithe, we are talking about offerings also. Yeah. But the principle is that we should also, we receive, and it's an administration principle also there, that we need to contribute because the higher level also had need on poor, also had expenses on. This is the principle of recognition of the providence of God was also set under the church life. It's a system, the recognition of tithe. Yeah. It is set up in this way in our system, in our structure, in our system. Okay, let's go to, I think we're ready with the treasurer's reports. We have more or less clarity. Again, the treasurer sent monthly report and sent quarterly report. The monthly report is not only the figures they send to the field, they need to send the money. And quarterly is like, they send like a balance sheet of the whole life of the church they send to the field. Clear in those areas? Let's go to the next area. Deacon or deaconess is another department of the church. Who is a deacon? There is the answer. Deacon is a servant. It's only deacon servant. Is only deacon a servant? Let's go to the scripture. Interesting that most of the letters of Paul, how did Paul begin his letters? Romans 1:1. What is written there? Was Paul a deacon? Paul was not a deacon officially with the title of deacon. Yeah? But how Paul recognized himself? Servant. Let's read the text.
Romans chapter 1, verse 1.
Yes, please.
Paul, a servant of Jesus Christ, called to be an apostle, separated unto the gospel of God.
We all of us are servants in the church. We serve one to each other. but in the sense of deacon is the helper. By helping others in the spirit of the sacrifice, he ministered to his Savior in the person of his weak, sick, and poor children. Is the assistant, the voluntary assistant in the church in order to fulfill different activities of the church, is the deacon. The responsibility of the deacon is a very active and dynamic activity because it is a regular activity in the local church. What other comments we can read from the deacon? Brother Danny, can you read more, please, from the deacon?
Sure. The first point? Or
the second.
We can compare a deacon to a mother who fulfills numerous responsibilities.
Wonderful. Yeah. How important is the mother responsibility on the church, in the family? The same is the deacon in the church. He's the one that taking care of the house, putting much love, much effort in order to have the things nicely in the house. The same is the deacon. Let's continue reading, brother.
The deacon assists at baptisms and the Lord's Supper. All preparations for a baptism and for the Lord's Supper need to be completed in plenty of time. After the ceremony, the baptismal robes and Lord's Supper utensils are washed and carefully stored.
Yeah. Are the deacons are the ones that help also the preparation of the bread, the preparation of the Lord's Supper, the different activities, as well as to collect the things, clean the things, and keep them ready for the Lord's Supper, as well as afterward to be well kept. The next.
The deacons are responsible to clean the church building and keep it in order. They care for poor, sick, and needy, and purchase Lord's Supper utensils and baptismal robes if such are not already available.
Yeah, the deacons are the ones that help also to have a nice church building in condition, in cleaning of the church, and putting the flowers on the church, on having the place nice, orderly, as well as providing utensils for the church if they are necessary to buy some for maintenance for the restrooms, keeping the materials necessary for the cleaning, as well as for the Lord's Supper, and different utensils that may be needed for the church. The last one, brother?
The church deacon is also responsible for preparation of the Lord's Supper bread and wine.
I already mentioned that is the person responsible, according with our structure, to prepare the bread and wine. Let's go to another one. Dorcas work or Good Samaritan department. What is the responsibilities of that? It's a Bible text there. Can we read it? Brother Eric, can you help me with that?
Christ gave everything for humanity, and even his precious life. Similarly, the church will have a heart for the persecuted, refugees, widows, orphans, and people who suffer from hunger. Thus, we preach the gospel not only in word, but also in deed.
It is important. I recommend you to have this department in churches. As we see here, it is a way to reach those that are in need. Which city do not have people with need? Everywhere there are persons with need. Maybe we will not find refuge in every city and persecuted, but we found people that are suffering hunger, people that are poor and with needs. And it's wonderful when we can have also this witness that we care for those that are in need. And can be done in different ways. Can be done collecting food and distributing. Can be done collecting clothes. Can be done by collecting finances and purchasing things and distributing among the needy, collecting shoes, and all what can be a help for those that are in need. Let's go to another department, the Sabbath School and its officers. What are the officers of the Sabbath School? Council on Sabbath School work. Can we read that statement? Brother Adrian, please.
Sabbath school, rightly conducted, is one of God's great instrumentalities to bring souls to a knowledge of the truth.
Then what is the main purpose of the mission of the Sabbath School department?
Bringing souls to a knowledge of the truth.
It's missionary purpose, salvation of souls. That's why it's very important that the officers may understand that Sabbath school is not the class where we are going to discuss our different point of view. No. It's the way how we nourish ourselves with our experience with the Word of God, and sharing experience that others may also receive those blessings. That is the purpose of the Sabbath School department, is to motivate us in some studies that will be a blessing for each one of us. what are the officers of the Sabbath school? We have there Sabbath school leader or superintendent, some places called assistant leader. It's important churches that may have assistant, or in case the superintendent cannot come, can another person take the responsibility? Secretary. In our system we have church secretary, Sabbath school secretary, that will read also the report of the last Sabbath school, and give also the records of the collection of the offerings for the Sabbath school department, on how many present were there. And it's important for the history, it's keeping history of the development of the church. Also teachers and children's teacher. It is one area that I need to recommend you, brethren, to take well care. The Word of God says, instruct the child in his way, and when he will be old, will not depart from him. I don't know how is your experience in your childhood in the church, if you had that experience or not. But when the child had in the church also good teachers in the Sabbath school, teachers that dedicate them and give them Bible texts for memorizing, they remain with the good memories of the Sabbath school department of the church. On this they care for the whole life. It's interesting how big is the influence of this spirituality upon the children. Not so many churches do this responsibility. It's important that you may consider when you go back home. Also, if there are just 2 or 3 children, take them. Do a children's Sabbath school department, because if they remain with the adults, they see the development of the church as a boring church. And this is a very bad impression in the development of a child. When they reach teenager age, what they want is leave the church as soon as possible. And this is not good. That's why we need to develop the Sabbath school department with the different levels. Also, if these young people, and if they are difficulties to contribute, answering, try to build a youth class and motivate them to answer, also to be active, participating in the Sabbath school. It's very important, the Sabbath school department, since you are bringing, as we see here, souls, the knowledge of the truth. Sabbath school secretary, some responsibilities. Who can help me here? Damaris, please.
Responsibilities. Number 1, to write the Sabbath school report and read it to the congregation. Number 2, to gather the offerings, count them, and give them to the treasurer. Number 3, to authorize the missionary secretary to order the Sabbath school lessons. Number 4, to maintain all reports in the report book, and to verify with the treasurer following each quarter that the figures of the Sabbath school offerings are correctly reported.
Yeah. Here we see that also responsible of providing Sabbath school lessons together with the secretary of the missionary department, in order to make, because as we saw, the purpose of Sabbath school is a missionary purpose. That's why we need to keep material sufficient, that when come other visitors, we may have also material available for the visitors. Also, it is mentioned in the church manual that they may be sure that the offerings are gathered, and that they may be given to the treasurer of the local church. It is recommendable also, as is mentioned here, to keep the report of the last Sabbath school, that we may have some summary of the information that what we have studied last Sabbath, and help us also to introduce in the new lesson. This is what our church manual presently is giving us guidelines for the secretary of the Sabbath school department. Children's Sabbath school. Let's read a little bit about this area that I just commented before. Brother Danny, please, can you help me with that?
The teachers are elected at the annual business meeting. The purpose of the Sabbath school is to educate boys and girls for Christian service, where their natural inclinations are utilized and led in the right ways. Direct his or her attention to the education of the children in music, helpfulness at home and in the neighborhood, support of missionary efforts. The most important goal should be to lead the children to Jesus' feet and instruct them in an understanding manner in the great truths of God.
We see here, based on this information, that is farther than just the activities on the Sabbath. When it's important, they are also teachers should be elected in the annual business meeting. Who will take care of the children? They work closely. I mentioned before in the other section, united with the Sabbath School department, because they have a very close relation. The Sabbath School leader should also be the overseer of the activities, what the children are doing in the Sabbath School class. But the teacher should not think only my activity is finished there. It's good when they also, for example, support of missionary efforts, that they may coordinate children are going out, that the children may also have their participation with the songs that they have learned, with some other activities that they have learned, help at the home and at the neighborhood. How they will do this? They cannot do this in the Sabbath School department. They need to do this then when they meet maybe on Sunday, when they develop a special project, helping in the house of one of our elderly brethren, just in the gardening a little bit. Children do the gardening work. And these are good memories that the children remain as the service for the church for the whole life. It's a very good and very important to be accomplished with the children in the church level. Parents' responsibility. Brother Eric, please.
Upon fathers as well as mothers rests the responsibility for the child's earlier as well as its later training, and for both parents the demand for careful and thorough preparation is most urgent. Never will education accomplish all that it might and should accomplish until the importance of the parents' work is fully recognized, and they receive a training for each sacred responsibilities.
Here is mentioned that the responsibility of educating the children for the Lord is not the teacher only. The activity of the responsibility already start at home with the parents. And you as future workers for the Lord, consider this motivating also the parent in taking time with the children in the spiritual life. Doing worship, morning worship, evening worship with them, taking time to share the Bible stories with them, not only in 1 hour in the Sabbath school department with the children. It is impossible to do that. That motivate, please, the parents to work closer to the parent in this area, in the education for the children for the Lord. Missionary department. This is very important because it's the life of the church. Brother Richard, can you help me reading here? Missionary department.
The leader of the missionary department has the responsibility and privilege of engaging the church members in the work through which the saving message is given to mankind. All members of the church should be active in missionary activity. It is up to the missionary leader to devise plans and methods so every church member has a responsibility to fulfill.
Every church member should have the responsibility to fulfill. The missionary leader is not the person that do more missionary work. This is wrong. Missionary leader is the person that will coordinate activities to put the church in activity, in missionary activity. He should have the love for the souls. He will be providing and engaging the church member in the work. He is the one that will coordinate the work. He is the one that here in the plan, he will say which objective, which activity he would like to set for the missionary department. You understand, brethren? And it's not, again I say, it is not that missionary leaders say, okay, brethren, who want to go today to the hospital? Or who want to go today outside to knock doors and to do missionary work? It's not this one. Missionary leader is the one that coordinates different areas. He sees the brethren, okay, sister like to do that, brethren like to do that. Okay, let's coordinate cooking class with the health department together that we may reach people. Sister will cook. Brother, what can we do? Okay, we like to start a prison ministry. Or we have sisters here and brothers that are like to go to the hospital or like to go distribute leaflets. There are so many different activities to do missionary work. And they request a lot of creativity. Just, for example, make a table in town and just put some material there and share to the people the material. I came until the point just to rent the whole boat in a place that was a lake, was a nice ship, and just invite people to the boat. And when they were just enjoying the trip on the boat, just preaching to the people there with a nice presentation, with choir music there. You can have a lot of different things, creativity. And that was a way to get in contact with the people. Yeah, who will now like to have these kind of activities? You need to see missionary activity as a service for them. Not as mercy, but as a service for them. That they need something, you provide them not only the salvation for the souls, but also something that their life need. Every different kind of materials. The responsibility of the missionary leaders are, what are the responsibility of the missionary leader? Brother Richard.
To submit a concrete plan for work to the committee.
As I already mentioned, they need to submit the plan. And the plan should give already the details for the quarter. Every Sabbath, what we will do. If we will do or not, going out or not, we should have every concrete for the whole quarter, as well as main activity that he may do maybe yearly. He wants to have a big evangelization in town, or other activity that he may plan. He present that. Next.
To instruct the church members how to arouse spiritual interest, give Bible studies, and be active in other missionary labor.
Yeah, he planned also for some of their Sabbath afternoon to teach them how to make a survey, how to give some Bible studies. He give also some of his experience, or just sharing experience, missionary work, just teaching, sharing experience. Yeah? There are different ways of instructing the church members. Let's go to the next.
To inspire the church members to make house visits and call on the sick.
How can we inspire the church member for church visits? Practically now.
To inspire them to visit the church, you mean?
No, for house
No.
visits.
Oh, house visits.
And we are talking about the missionary leader inspiring the members to do house visit. How do you do that?
Well, you can inspire them to visit the sick by making appointments to visit nursing homes, sing at nursing homes.
You know, normally the members had not this initiative. Let's go visit the sick. Let's go and do Bible study. Then the missionary leader say, brother, I need your assistance. I need your help. We need to visit this person. Or I know that you, we're having some friendship with the brother. Brother is not coming to church. Then I say, brother, we need to go visit him. I know you have a good contact with him. Let's go. Or let's pray for him together. Then we go together. And they will see the blessing of the visit, and they will get more tests. Okay, let me see next time I go by myself. Motivating them just not by word, but inviting them to go together, or to do missionary work together. Next point.
To see that our publications are distributed to the people.
We are talking about responsibility of the missionary leader, and he should also see, we have a missionary leaflet in the church. Then he's not missionary leaflet, he needs to contact the field. What leaflet do we have? Or request leaflet for the field and provide them for the church. He is the person. You understand, brethren? He is the person that should motivate. We not only request. Now he do a church meeting and say, brother, we have a goal. We want to distribute 200 in this month, leaflets. Then we are 10 members, we need to take 20 leaflets every one. Here, brothers, 20 for you, 20 for you, 20 for you. Let's do an effort to distribute this during this month. And at the end of the month, in the program is a meeting that we will share our experience distributing leaflets. Then we come together, we motivate them through sharing the experience. We need to be creative in the missionary work. There are so many things to do. But we need to have a person that really loves this work and try to involve the people in the work. Who should do this? You should be missionary leaders now when you go to the church, because you were in Cedartown. Because you try to get some test. Huh? But you need to think in all these things, not just, okay, let's do knock door by door. Then the people get discouraged. It's not so easy to do the work. You need to give ideas, a new idea, motivation, new way of reaching the soul. Especially since you are from Canada. In those countries where are more difficulties to reach the people, you need to be more creative how to get in contact with them, how to attract them. Yeah? There are so different ways. Just do a survey about health. And then people, normally, they are sick. And if you do a survey, they will share some interest maybe in some health area. And from the health area, you invite them cooking class, and from there you go to the spiritual area. There are so many different things that you can do. Let's go to the next point.
To demonstrate practically how literature should be offered to the people.
Okay, you have done canvassing. Now you need to go back to your places and share with the churches how to distribute the materials, to do canvassing work. Next.
To see that the reports are submitted on time so they can be sent to the next higher level.
Okay, the report. He should be back of the report. we will see next point also the report on how do we fill the missionary report. Let's go to the next.
To hold regular missionary and training sessions.
Now, it's similar to point number 2, to have a training session in the local church. Next.
To assign every church member his area of work.
Yeah, when you do the working plan, here in this chronogram, you should not put the date, you should also put the responsible person. Here will be date and responsible. And this helps to integrate the members in different activities of the missionary work. The next.
To lead the report of missionary experiences on Sabbath.
He is the person that will come in the missionary minutes after the Sabbath school. Every church should do that. It's a part of our church organization, church system. After the Sabbath school finish, to call the missionary leader to have some minutes of experience and to collect the missionary reports. Let me share to you now the missionary form, report, quarterly missionary form. Can you please take one and share? Okay, in the missionary quarterly form that will be sent together with the secretary quarterly report, it is what is mentioned there. For week ending. That means that here, what you're going to write in this first place here. Let's go to the calendar. What you're going to write there is, based on the calendar,
Friday, 8 or 7.
I don't have a calendar with me here. But what you write there is based on each Sabbath. Sabbath 6, Sabbath 7, Sabbath 14, Sabbath 21, Sabbath 28. Each Sabbath. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. How many Sabbaths had a quarter? 13. Then each Sabbath, where do you do this? When you are having a missionary report, you should motivate the missionary leader to be there and to say, brethren, how many Bible studies have we done in this week? Then every member should show 2 Bible studies with the hands that you may get the reports. Other option is that you may do small papers, distribute to all members, and then you collect every Sabbath that they may give you the papers with information. But mostly they will forget to fill the paper, and it's better just to do by hand. That the secretary, the missionary leader, the secretary missionary leader may collect this information from the church every Sabbath. Bible studies, missionary visit. What are missionary visits? You went to the neighbor, you pray with him. You visit somebody that is sick and trying to motivate. You went to people, brethren, that are not coming to church, motivate them. You just spoke with your co-worker about some interested curiosity of the news related with the Lord. Just trying to get in contact with him. Public lecture. This is we have done a cooking class or we have done some other lectures in the church. Seminars. We have done seminars about health, about Daniel, about Revelation. Conferences. We have done already a bigger activity. External distribution. Books, magazine, leaflets, internal distribution, Sabbath school lessons, Sabbath watchman, and other materials. This you do it every Sabbath, and then you have the information that you need to send to the field in the other quarterly report. If you remember, we have the quarterly form here, where the secretary needs to send to the field. And here are Bible studies, missionary visit, public lecture, seminar. If you don't do this form every Sabbath, which information you will get there? You will guess. You don't have the information. And this is important because this shows you the church is active, and this shows the field that you are doing missionary activities. If you don't collect in the church every week you will not have to send to the field anything. Do you understand? What you may send is what if they are the church leader or the missionary leader did some activity, but this is not the responsibility of the missionary leader. The responsibility of the missionary leader is to involve the church in doing missionary activities, and trying to coordinate that they may be active in the missionary activity. It is clear, my brethren? Yeah, this is very important. And the assistant should be the secretary. Should also have a secretary of the missionary department. What are the responsibilities of the secretary of the missionary department? Brother Eric.
He has the following duties to fulfill. Number 1, to support the church missionary activities, to present at the missionary meetings and write the minutes.
Yeah, just continue.
To take care of all missionary business of the church, keeping records, saying that there is a supply of publication and making the necessary arrangements for the missionary meetings. To maintain files of circular letters, reports, forms, and plans of work, as well as a list with names and addresses of interested souls.
This is a very important point that I'd like to stop here. That they may have a record of all interested souls, a file with all interested souls. If we have in our activities develop a way that we have visits or some interested contacts regularly, it is important that we may develop this file. What do we have in this file? The name of the person, the address of the person. Why? Then when another missionary leader come in the responsibility, you give them all the contact that we have in the last year in the missionary activities. If you do cooking class, that you may keep the record who is the people that is coming to the cooking class. You need to make a follow-up on those people. If you don't ask the address, if you don't ask the name, they came one time, and how do you invite next time to be? You don't know where they live. You don't know. When you do mission activity, one of the main issues is that you may get the contacts, because then you can make a follow-up. On the work of the missionary is a follow-up work, regular follow-up work. Not once every 2-3 months, because they get discouraged and they lose the interest. That is important that to keep this record for the interested souls, keeping the information of the interested souls. Next, brother.
To send in and pay for all regular orders, such as for the Sabbath watchmen, Sabbath school lessons, week of prayer, readings, the literature for children and youth, and all news literature.
Okay, or normally the church practice this directly by the treasury department. But the secretary of the missionary department or the missionary department leader, they should assist, because they should be the one that should have interest. The material should be in the church. The treasurer maybe may assist because they are having the finances, but they should coordinate that the things may be done, that the material may be available. It's important. Life of the church depends on what we do, what we have. Number 5.
To gather missionary offerings at appropriate time to provide the church with confidence.
I recommend, brother, to do this regularly. We do not have much materials in the churches. It's because we do not do the things with dynamism. That you have a church meeting. Some churches also, when they are the missionary meetings, they collect an extra offering there. Some they collect every Sabbath, some collect it once a month for the missionary purpose. Then you have funds that you can distribute for to buy new materials, new leaflets. Next.
To direct the church's attention to the current missionary literature.
Yeah?
To complete and submit the church missionary report form to the church missionary leader every quarter. That report is then presented to the church leader for his signature and given to the church's secretary, so that the quarterly church report can be completed.
Do we understand that the information is everything is linked? That's why it's so important to be dynamic in the local church, because the field is depending for the local church. If the Lord called you, brethren, to be leaders also in the field, do not forget that your motivation and your supervision in the churches will depend your success also in the field. Field, who are the members of the field? The local church members. If you do not concern to put the church in life, in dynamism, in action, your field will also be stagnant in your development, will be slow in your development. May the Lord help us that we may see how important it is to be dynamic in our missionary activities, and that we may put our churches in action. Youth department. Yes.
For example, in our church back in sometimes we'll make like a pamphlet. Do you have to get some type of validation if you can use that pamphlet? Maybe from the committee, like if you create one.
Okay, publication. We will see this, I don't know if we will have time, but the publication, all publications need to be approved by the literature committee. Yeah? The church do not have literature committee. Who have literature committee is the field. And the literature committee should work close with the field officers. That means that the church can prepare something and send it to the field for approval. And then they will check. Normally in the literature committee, one minister should be there, one person that is good in grammar to check the spelling, and another assistant. And then they check those main areas, doctrinal issues, they check the content, also in grammatical issue, in nice graphic, and then they just put it out. When the material are there, it's for distribution. Normally, there is no limitation for distribution of that material. But it's important to have the approval because it's the identity of the church. The name of the church will be there. The address of the church will be there. The church will be identified through that leaflet. That's why it's important to go through the literature committee. That was your question? All right. In some places, I have experienced that in order to distribute leaflets, you need to have also a permission. On some places, they need to have a stamp in the leaflet. Each leaflet has a stamp that is authorized to be distributed. You need to check what are the situations. There are some specific areas of the city that you need to have a specific authorization in order to distribute in those areas. Check that point. We have reached to the youth department now area, but I think we will do another break, and then we will continue after the break. Let's make a prayer at this point, and we will go to a break.